Shalom Israel, Shalom, Shalom. Brother Nakwam, watchman for Israel, coming back at you with these precepts. Add another cold cut, giving, of course, our honor and our glory to Yahawah, by Shema Mashiach Malaki Bashai. Double honors to the elect elders of the house of David that's been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting for the second coming of Mashiach Malaki Bashai. A hearty, mighty shalom to all of the mighty men of the Most High God who are out there in the highways and byways, pushing this truth, magnifying the ministry, presenting their body as a living sacrifice, and enduring all things for the elect's sake. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the men that may not be out there in the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying, they're fasting, they're studying, they're being diligent and moving in the spirit of our righteous forefathers. Right? Shalom, shalom to the Aquath out there, married, unmarried, moving in the spirit of our righteous foremothers, and everybody tuning in live. Callaway T, Yolanda Caesar, Kiara McDaniel, Love Pius, Richard Perez, Kareem, T. Sellers, Arek, Kyoko Banyamyan, Don Israel, Brother Believe, Princess to a King, Vernon Brody, Lenore Michelle, Quad Israel 23, and everybody, Benjamin Youngwolf, K Paradise, Divine in Nature LLC, and everybody else tuning in and that will tune in, Lord willing. Again, it's the Feast of Dedication. It's the fourth day of the Feast of Dedication. The seven temples of Yahawah and Yahawashi breakdown. So we've been going day by day, and for each of the seven golden candlesticks, we're going to go live, or we have been going live, and to a topic that pertains into the Feast of Dedication, right? And today, or tonight rather, we're going to go into the seven temples of Yahawah and Yahawashi. We're going to go into the temples of Yahawah, Yahawashi, and what that means, because again, a Feast of Dedication is about what? The restoring of the temple that was desecrated and profaned by the so-called white man, the Edomites, which the Bible calls Antiochus Epiphanes IV, who profaned it and put swine's flesh on the altar, the abomination of desolation. You read about the book of Daniel, the 11th chapter, 11 and 31, right? And Daniel, the 8th chapter, right? So you read about this abomination of desolation throughout the scriptures, and we have to go into the impact of that and also tie it into the temples that have been done and created and builded throughout the history of us as a people, right? So let's dive right into it through the spirit and power of Yahawah by Shema Mashiach Yahawashi. So the first and foremost, let's go to the book of First Chronicles, right? Let's go to the book of First Chronicles, the 28th chapter, right? First Chronicles chapter 28, because the first temple was built by Solomon. But, and we went into this before, the first temple was built by King Solomon, Solomon's temple. But remember, the blueprint, the material, the resources, the planning, you understand, all of the cost that was counted to get the temple done was primarily done by David. Now, that's not something that you read about in 2 Samuel, or 1 Kings, or 1 Samuel, but you do read about that in Chronicles. David's impact that he had towards the building of the temple that Solomon created through the spirit and power of Yahawah. Now, the Most High told us to create a temple because there's a temple in the third heaven, right? And we'll touch on that in time to come. But everything that was created after a pattern of what's done in the heavens. The tabernacle, the temple, the candlestick. There, it's extremely or highly spiritual the way that Yahawah has created us and gave us these different men to create these things that are patterned after the third heaven, like Moses, David, Solomon, etc. Right? So this is First Chronicles 28 and 1. And David assembled the princes of Israel, the princes of the tribes, and the captains of the companies that ministered to the king by quarters, and the captains over the thousands, and captains over the hundreds, and the stewards over all the substance and possession of the king, and of his sons, with the officers, and with the mighty men, and with all the valiant men unto Jerusalem. So David this is a mass assembly, right? A mass assembly to the top men in the kingdom. Then David the king stood up upon his feet and said, "Hear me, my brethren and my people. As for me, I had in mine heart to build an house of rest for the ark of the covenant of Yahawah, and for the footstool of our God, and had made ready for the building." So it was in David's mind to build a temple. You can read about that in 2 Samuel, 7th chapter, right? David wanted to build the temple, but the Most High said, hey, look, I'm not going to do that, man. Right? Here's 2 Samuel chapter 7 and verse 1. And it came to pass when the king sat in his house, and the Lord had given him rest round about from all his enemies, that the king said unto Nathan the prophet, see now, I dwell in a house of cedar, but the ark of the Most High dwelleth with curtains. Right? So he said, look, man, I got this house that the Most High gave me, but the Most High, or the ark of the Most High, it's in a tent, a tabernacle. So I want to build a house or a temple for the Most High. Right? Because the Most High, he's the king, or the King of kings and the Lord of lords, man. Right? So let's read on. And Nathan said to the king, go, do all that is in thine heart, for the Lord is with thee. So Nathan gave him the blessing. But let's see what the Most High did. And it came to pass that night that the word of the Lord came into Nathan, saying, go and tell my servant David, thus saith the Lord, shalt thou build me an house for me to dwell in? Whereas I have not dwelt in any house since the time that I brought up the children of Israel out of Egypt, even to this day, but have walked in a tent and a tabernacle. And it's not saying the Most High can actually, not saying that he would get off his actual throne and come in a house. This is not Christianity. When the Most High saying he's dwelt in the house, is speaking about his spirit, man, his presence. The Most High already has a tabernacle, or it's like a temple. You can read that in Psalms, Revelation, Hebrews. And that cuts Christianity. The Most High don't dwell in an actual house made with hands, man. Right? Let's get that in Acts 24. So all you Christians, and I'm going to go back to Chronicles, right? They say, well, the Lord is in my church. You can't go to that building because that building is off. It's like, and God doesn't dwell there. You got to come to my house because God is in my church. The Most High is not in your church, man. Most of y'all are child molesters, pork eaters, Christmas celebrators, and wicked men, man. And hypocrites. Right? Wicked men. And it's like I want Acts 17. Right? Wicked men and hypocrites, man. Acts 17 and verse 24. The Most High that made the world and all things therein, seeing that he is Lord of heaven and earth, dwelleth not in temples made with hands. So you can't make a physical house. Then the Most High said, okay, look, man, that's me. Let me move. I'm packing my stuff up. Come down there. All right, Gabriel, you take this. Okay, Raphael, load up the spiritual U-Haul. Okay, no, man. And then he come down. Okay, here's your keys. Okay, sign here. And the Most High start moving in. Man. He untape his boxes. He moved the box. No, he don't dwell in a temple made with hands. So with David is not creating a physical building for the Most High to dwell in. It's the spirit of Yahawashi. And everything inside the temple is a physical representation of what is in the third heaven. Right? From the brazen laver to the altar, to the table, to the showbread, to the candlestick, to the Ark of the Covenant. All of these things are a representation of what Moses saw and David saw in the third heaven. Right? It reads, the Most High that made the world and all things therein, seeing that he is Lord of heaven and earth, dwelleth not in temples made with hands, neither is worshipped with men's hands, as though he needed anything, seeing he giveth to all life and breath and all things. You see that? So let's go back. I mean, you can't get a Most High anything. You don't have to feed the Most High. I remember I had to walk into this Chinese store, and I believe I gave this account before. They had this I think it was a wine store or a liquor store back in the day, and he had this big Buddha statue, and they was feeding him. Man. He had a cup of Starbucks coffee. He had a small latte. They gave him oranges, and they gave him 2 McChickens, man. I said, what the hell is going on? Now I was in the world, but I was still looking at what is this, man? So they give their gods food, man, which is madness. They worship those things with men's hands. So this temple that David wants to build is a spiritual temple. It's like it's a literal temple for the spirit of the Most High to dwell in, right? 2 Samuel 2 and 6. Whereas I have not dwelt in any house since the time that I brought up the children of Israel out of Egypt, even to this day, but have walked in a tent and a tabernacle. In all the places wherein I have walked with all the children of Israel, spake I a word with any of the tribes of Israel, whom I commanded to feed my people Israel, saying, why build ye not me a house of cedar? Meaning the Most High never told, Joshua, never told Boaz, right? He never told Samson. He never told Samuel. He never told Othniel. He never told Caleb. Any of these men, why didn't you build me a temple? Right? That's not what the Most High was demanding of our fathers. So this was of a good heart that David wanted to do this. And the Most High was with David. But he said, David, you're not going to be the one to do it because you have shed too much blood on the earth. You have killed too many people. The song is what? Saul has slain his thousands and David is 10,000s. So David couldn't actually, build the temple. Right? Let's read on. I'm going to jump down. This 2 Samuel chapter 7 and verse 12. This Nathan talking to David. And when thy days be fulfilled, and thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, I will set up thy seed after thee, which shall proceed out of thy bowels, and I will establish his kingdom. Right? They're speaking about Solomon. But on a deeper level, it's going into Yahawashi. Right? And we'll address that temple being created as well. Right? Because Yahawashi created a temple. Right? And he's still creating a temple. Right? Through the spirit and power of Yahawah. All right? And I will establish his kingdom. He shall build in a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. Now we know Solomon's kingdom was not forever. His kingdom was only 40 years, just like David's kingdom was only 40 years. Scholars would say, 970 to around 930 BC. I will be his father, and he shall be my son. If he commit iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men and with the stripes of the children of men. Now, did Solomon commit iniquity? Yes. Solomon did commit iniquity, man. Right? He dealt with the women of the other nations and set up their gods or set up altars for their gods. He built temples and groves, right? And all types of construction work for the abomination of the Ammonites and for the wicked things of the Zidonians and for the abominations of all these other gods, man. But where is the account of Solomon being chastened with the rod of men and with the stripes of the children of men? There's no account of that, man. The only account of Solomon being punished by the Most High is the Lord essentially renting a kingdom from him and setting up Jeroboam and raising up a few adversaries, man. Hadad, the Edomite, and Hadad, if I'm not mistaken, out of Syria. So the Lord raised up adversaries to Solomon and rent the kingdom and gave 10 pieces by Ahijah the prophet to Jeroboam, but he never chastened Solomon with the rod of men. There's no account. So we know it's deeper, it's really going into Yahawashi, because Yahawashi was beaten with stripes, man. And he's the one that's going to build the true temple, right? He's the one that was beaten with stripes. Go to John 19. John 19 and verse 1. Then Pilate therefore took Yahawashi and scourged him. What did he scourge him with? With stripes. That is the fulfillment of Isaiah chapter 53. Right? Isaiah chapter 53 and verse 5. But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. Right? Meaning Yahawashi was beat and whipped, and while he was experiencing death, it was pumping life into the elect. And that's deep. Because when you whip somebody with stripes, blood comes out and it touches the soil, man. The concrete, the ground, the asphalt, the streets. And what's inside of blood? Life. Pursuant to Leviticus, the 17th chapter, and verse 11. The Lord said, ye shall eat no manner of blood, right? For life is in the blood thereof, paraphrasing. So as the blood of Yahawashi was spilling to the ground, it was essentially in the spirit pushing life into the souls of the dry bones and the dead. Now, the point is, in the book of 2 Samuel, we know that this prophecy of building a temple and building a house is really going into Yahawashi on a deeper level. Does that mean Solomon didn't build a temple? No, he built one, but the true temple is going to be built by our king, Hamashiach Wamalak Yahawashi. Right? And there are different temples that have been built throughout ages. There's one that Yahawashi is building. There's one that Solomon built from the mind of David. You know, there's many temples, and we're going to talk about these temples. Now let's go into the details. Now, although David wanted to build a temple, and the Most High told him, hey, look, you're not the one that's going to do it. Your seed is going to do it. David still said, hey, look, that's fine. I may not physically build it, but I'll do the blueprint and I'll design it out. I'll be the mastermind and the architect behind it. Right? And that's where we find Chronicles, 1 Chronicles 28, David gathering all of the men and telling them, hey, look, here's the plan. Right? And that's what a king is supposed to do. A king doesn't just get fed grapes. A king doesn't just sit down and have people fan him and deal with women all day. Kings are supposed to have vision. Kings are supposed to be warriors. Kings are supposed to be masters of the law and execute wise, prudent judgment. And kings are supposed to have vision to build up their people, man. You know? So let's read on. 1 Chronicles chapter 28 and verse 2. Let's read this again. Then David the king stood up upon his feet and said, hear me, my brethren, and my people. As for me, I had in my heart to build an house of rest for the ark of the covenant of Yahawah and for the footstool of our God, and had made ready for the building. So remember, he wasn't told to build it, but he made it ready, right? Let's see what he did. But the Most High said unto me, thou shalt not build an house for my name, because thou hast been a man of war and hast shed blood, right? Howbeit, the Lord God of Israel chose me before all the house of my father to be king over Israel forever. For he hath chosen Judah to be the ruler, and of the house of Judah, the house of my father. And among the sons of my father, he liked me to make me king over all Israel. And all of my sons, for the Lord hath given me many sons. He hath chosen Solomon, my son, to sit upon the throne of the kingdom of the Lord over Israel. Right? So the kingdom of the Lord is really being over Israel. Right? So all these people that talk about who's going to be in the kingdom, essentially is talking about Israel. Right? Let's read on. 1 Chronicles 28 and 6. Right? 1 Chronicles 28 and 6. And he said unto me, Solomon thy son, he shall build mine house and my courts. For I have chosen him to be my son, and I will be his father. So let's jump down to the works that Solomon actually did. Right? That's like that David created. 1 Chronicles 28 and 11. Then David gave to Solomon, his son, the pattern of the porch, and of the houses thereof, and of the treasuries thereof, and of the upper chambers thereof, and of the inner parlors thereof, and of the place of the mercy seat. So this David was a mastermind, right? David was a mastermind. And again, we went over this. This word pattern, it means what? It's like essentially, it means a blueprint, right? Let's pull this up. It's really a blueprint. See that? Pattern, a plan, a form, construction, figure. So there was a blueprint that David had by the Spirit. All right, let's pull this up. Yeah, blueprint. Right? So you need to know all types of stuff to make a blueprint, man. You need to be a mathematician, know designs, layouts, right? Dimensions, right? You have to pretty much be a genius, for lack of better terms, to have a master blueprint. And David had a master blueprint he created on where things were going to be, and he gave it to Solomon. So when Solomon was building, he was looking at the blueprint of his father and telling the people, okay, we're gonna do this, we need this done, we need this done. So Solomon was like the foreman. And that's really deep because Solomon, if you understand regeneration, is Yahawashi. And his father David gave him the blueprint. That's the same thing that goes back to Genesis, the first chapter. See, the Most High gave Yahawashi the blueprint on how to create the heavens and the earth. Because all things on the earth were made by him and for him. So really, this blueprint on a deeper level wasn't made by David. It was made by the Most High through Yahawashi to give to David so he could come on the earth and make it. Now you say, well, I don't get it. I don't know what that means. Well, that's that, man. All right. It was made by Yahawashi, by the mind of the Most High, to give it to David so when he came back on the earth, he could make it and create it to fulfill the prophecy. See that? So these are blueprints. Right? Let's see this. What skills to make a blueprint? Right? Let's see what they say. Let's see. See, and you gotta know how to read the blueprint. Right? Let's see if they say. So it's not an easy thing, man. It's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing to sit there and just create and make this stuff, man. See that anatomy of a blueprint. You need a grid system, a legend. You need to know math, a drawing, a plan, right? A revision block, a title block. How did David's blueprint actually look exactly like this? No, we don't know. We don't know the schematics behind it. Nevertheless, he didn't have all of this digital stuff. He was doing this thing through the spirit, man. Right? So let's go back to this. So that word pattern, it means a plan, form, or construction. See, when the Most High created the earth, it was without what? Without form, right? And void. So the Most High essentially created it to have form by putting the right elements together. You know, say, okay, we're going to put this here. The earth is going to be like this. The clouds are going to be under the firmament. The firmament is going to divide the waters from the waters. And that's how the Most High gave that plan to build this dwelling place for man. All right. So let's go back to 1 Chronicles 28. 1 Chronicles chapter 28 and verse 12. Right? 1 Chronicles 28 and 12. And the pattern of all that he had by the Spirit. So this was given to him by the Spirit, man. He wasn't just sitting and reading, studying. He didn't go to Yale. He didn't go to this ancient school of the Philistines. And the Philistines said, okay, with David, you need to enroll. And okay, go to the bursar office. Then he went to Gaza. Then he traveled. He went to Eshcol and the men of the east. No, man. The Most High was working on him. Right? And the pattern of all that he had by the Spirit. Of the courts of the house of Yahawah, and of the chambers round about, of the treasuries of the house of the Most High, and of the treasuries of the dedicated things, because it's the feast of dedication. And what were the dedicated things that he had by the Spirit? The dedicated things were the spoils of war, targets of gold, the brass, right, the silver, all of the things that Solomon had during his military conquest, and things that were willingly offered by the captains, by himself, and by other princes and noblemen. These things were put into the treasury of the house of the Most High. So David dedicated the temple before there was even a feast of dedication. He already had a plan for a dedication. Right, let's go into this word dedicate. I want to get the etymology of that. Right? Go to the etymology of dedicate. A dedication, that means action of consecrating to a deity or sacred use. See that? So there were holy vessels and holy ornaments and instruments that were taken from David and from his men, and they were consecrated to the Most High. They were given to Yahawah Ba'Shem Yahawashi. And that word is broken down in the Latin, right? Decare, meaning to proclaim, right? And Slaki, let's see, let's read this. Okay, dedicare, meaning to consecrate, proclaim, affirm, set, and put away. From day, meaning away, and decare, meaning to proclaim, right? Meaning you would go and you would conquer the nation, you would take the spoils of war, and you would shout and say, we have done this in the name of Yahawah, Ba'Shem Yahawashi, and you will put it away, man. Right? In the temple, in the treasury. So that's what David had by the Spirit. All right, the treasury of the dedicated things. Verse 13. Also for the courses of the priests and the Levites. And remember, he had 24 courses, just like there's 24 elders. And for all the work of the service of the house of Yahawah, and for the vessels of service in the house of Yahawah. He gave of gold by weight for things of gold. So he actually didn't just weight. He got the weight of things. We need this much gold. We need this much silver, you know, for all instruments of all manner of service. Silver also for all instruments of silver by weight, for all instruments of every kind of service. Even the weight for the candlesticks of gold, meaning the menorahs. So he had to figure out by the Spirit, the Most High actually gave it to him, how much is the menorah going to weigh? How many talents of beaten gold do you need to make the candlesticks? Because remember, Solomon didn't have one menorah like the or candlestick like the tabernacle. He had 10 of them. He had 5 on one side, he had 5 on another. Now, the weight of gold for the candlesticks or the menorahs were done by David through the Spirit, right when they were put into the temple. Even the weight for the candlesticks of gold and for their lamps of gold by weight for every candlestick. And this is like how, you know, like it goes into a figure of the creation, like I said, because the Most High, he weighs the winds. He maketh the weight for the winds. The Most High knows how many plants are going to be here, how many animals, how many trees, how many people, how tall the mountains are going to be, how far the water is going to pass on the earth before the Lord stops it. Right? The Most High has done everything by weight and by measure. And that Spirit was on David to move in that same way. So this is a big operation right here, man. This is a big deal. Right? So it reads, and for their lamps of gold by weight for every candlestick, and for the lamps thereof, and for the candlesticks of silver by weight, both for the candlestick and also for the lamps thereof, according to the use of every candlestick. So that's the menorahs. And by weight he gave gold for the tables of showbread for every table, and likewise silver for the tables of silver. I'll jump down. Verse 18. And for the altar, actually, let's read 17. Also pure gold for the flesh hooks, that's for your sacrifices, and the bowls, and the cups, and for the golden basins, he gave gold by weight for every basin, and likewise silver by weight for every basin of silver. And for the altar of incense, refined gold by weight, and gold for the pattern of the chariots of the cherubims that spread out their wings and covered the ark of the covenant of Yahawah. Right? All this, said David, Yahawah made me understand in writing by his hand upon me, even all the works of this pattern. So David said, the Most High gave me the design. As I was drawing this thing out, my hand was being guided to write out how much this weighs, how much this weighs, the dimensions here, the dimensions here, right? That's how it gets down, man. There's a lot of patterns and blueprints, even Noah in the ark. You think Noah was just sitting there? Noah had a pattern. How the ark was going to be created. How many how many feet this was going to be. How many cubits, rather. how many stories tall it was going to be. So that was given to Noah. David had it, you know. Yahawashi had it in the creation. So First Chronicles 28:19 is deep. It says, all this said David, Yahawah, Bashem Yahawashi, made me understand. And in writing by his hand upon me, even all the works of this pattern. Right? Let's go to First Chronicles 29:1. Right? First Chronicles chapter 29:1. Furthermore, David the king said unto all the congregation, Solomon my son, whom alone the Most High hath chosen, is yet young and tender, and the work is great. For the palace is not for man, but for the Lord God. Now I have prepared with all my might for the house of my God, the gold for things to be made of gold, and the silver for things of silver, and the brass for things of brass, the iron for things of iron. Right? It reads, and wood for things of wood, onyx stones, and stones to be set, glistering stones, and of diverse colors, and all manner of precious stones, and marble in abundance. So Solomon is creating things to build. I mean, David is giving this to Solomon. Now Solomon put it together, man. When you read First Kings, the 7th chapter, Solomon put this stuff together, man. Read First Chronicles 29. I'm not going to read the whole chapter, right? But read the offerings for the temple. And what are you offering to the temple right now, man? Now, this is a beautiful chapter because I do want to get another verse in this chapter about the willpower and zeal that the house of David had. And during the Feast of Dedication, what have you been offering to the Most High? Right? What are you offering to the Lord? Because when you read Numbers, the 29th chapter, the 28th chapter, it goes into the feast days and all of the offerings for every feast day. For the 8 days of the Feast of Tabernacles, there's an offering that's supposed to be done. The Feast of Dedication is patterned after the Feast of Tabernacles. So there should be an offering done. What are you offering in these last days during the Feast of Dedication? What are you offering to the Most High? What work are you putting in? What sacrifices are you making? Because that's what it's about, man. Look at all of the work that David put in, all of his might during the to dedicate the temple, man. You know, right? Let's read on. I want to jump down. Okay, let's read on a little bit more. First Chronicles 29:3. Moreover, because I have set my affection to the house of my God, I have of mine own proper good. He said, this is my own, man. I didn't pull and rob everybody. I took this out of my own. I have of my own proper good of gold and silver, which I have given to the house of my God, over and above all that I have prepared for the holy house. So he said, look, this is what we need for the out of the nation to build, but I'm gonna offer out of my own account above what we need. So that's zeal right there, man. Here's a standard what we need, but I'm gonna give more just in case, man. For the holy house. What have we been given, or what have we been giving to the holy house, man? Some people give actual alms. Some brothers, they may do videos. Some people, you know, they teach. You pray for one another. You're checking on brothers, your exhortation, right? You may go to camp. What are you doing? You may make garments. You may do this. You may check on somebody. You may do exhortation. You may fast. We don't necessarily fast on the Feast of Dedication, but there are many things that you can give of your own proper good, like David. First Chronicles 29:4. Even 3,000 talents of gold, of the gold of Ophir, and 7,000 talents of refined silver, to overlay the walls of the houses withal. The gold for things of gold, and the silver for things of silver, and for all manner of work to be made by the hands of the artificers. Now, here's this beautiful question posed by David. And who then is willing to consecrate his service this day unto the Lord? Now, after somebody tell you all that they offer, then they say, well, what you gonna put up? You gotta put up, man. I put this up, I did this. What you gonna put up? Now you'd be wicked to say, well, I ain't putting up nothing. After David just gave up all he put to the table, man. All he brought to the table. You'd be a damn fool, man. To say, well, look, yeah, that's you though. That sounds like a you problem. Now, David didn't have men like that around him, but those men are on the earth, man. Right? There are certain men, they'll say that. Oh, that sounds like a you problem. You chose to offer that up. So David knew this question was going to be answered, man. He's going to get the right reaction. He said, who then is willing to consecrate his service this day to Yahawah, Bashim Yahawashi? Then the chief of the fathers and princes of the tribes of Israel and the captains of thousands and of hundreds with the rulers of the king's work offered willingly. Offered willingly. Nobody had to force them. Didn't have a knife to their throat. They said, okay, I see the zeal of David. I respect the king. I want to offer willingly as well. And they dedicated things to the temple, man. Right? You read the rest of this chapter and read about the many things and precious stones and brass and silver. It's like that the captains and the princes and the mighty men of the house of David did for the temple. Right? Salakia. And Solomon actually created this temple, man, right, with the help of David's men. It wasn't just Solomon being a mastermind, which he was. He was a genius, right? We're not taking that away, but the Most High put the spirit in David to get this thing rolling. And Solomon had a lot of help, man, from his father. That's why the proverb says, despise not thy father's friend, paraphrasing. Right? This is 1 Kings chapter 5 and 5. It reads, and behold, I propose to build an house unto the name of the Lord my God, as the Lord spake unto David my father, saying, thy son, whom I will set upon thy throne in thy room, he shall build a house unto my name. So Solomon said, hey, look, he told Hiram of Tyre, who actually provided a lot of cedar, cunning working artificers. He said, hey, look, I need your help and I need the resources to get this temple built, right? To get the temple built. Now, here's what Solomon's temple, right? Hold on. Let's get this. I had a picture, right? Here's what Solomon's temple would have looked like. This is a layout of Solomon's temple. Now, I'm not going to read all the 1 Kings, the 6th chapter, the 7th chapter, right? The prayer in the 8th chapter. I'm not going to read all of that, right? That's something you got to get into. Right now, we read about the candlestick, the altar, right? The brass that was needed for the lavers. All of these things were part of Solomon's temple. This is the first temple that was built, and it was built by Solomon. And this is a beautiful diagram right here, right? Now it tells you to kind of even give you some precepts and the dimensions. But you can read this on your own in 1 Kings 5 through really 7. All right, 1 Kings 5 through 7. And it's extremely detailed. And you should read it. A lot of brothers, I don't want to read that. It's too many numbers, too many cubits. That's off, man. Right? That's off. It's too much to read. No, this is what the Most High has given us, man. Right? So you can read about the sea, right, with the 12 oxen, representing the north, south, east, and west, and the 12 tribes and the 12 apostles, and it's like the 12 sons of Jacob and the sea. All right, there's a sea up there in the third heaven, man. The laver for the washing. And you can see the candlesticks. Each temple has candlesticks. This one has 10 of them, right? The ancient tabernacle had 1. And the temple we're in now, there's 7 of them. So you have 7 menorahs in the third temple, which is the elect. And then in Solomon's temple, you had 10 candlesticks. In the ancient tabernacle, you had one candlestick, right? So the Most High, he set this thing up according to his will, right? Let's go to 1 Kings chapter 7, right? Let's actually read that, right? We'll read 1 Kings 7, and we'll jump down. Let's see, 1 Kings 7 and 48. And Solomon made all the vessels that pertain into the house of Yahawah, the altar of gold and the table of gold whereupon the showbread was, and the candlesticks, the menorah is the candlestick, right? And the candlesticks of pure gold, 5 on the right side and 5 on the left, before the oracle with the flowers and the lamps and the tongs of gold. So he had 5 menorahs, right? Because it was large, you needed more candlesticks, right? You needed more of that to give light. Now he had these 10 menorahs through the spirit and power of Yahawah Bashmi Amashai, and it was right before the oracle, right? It was right before the oracle, or the holiest of holies, the Ark of the Covenant, that entire area. Now that's the first temple that Solomon built. Let's look at it again. Now this is beautiful, right? Now Esau want to talk about the 7 wonders of the world, right? There's something, the statue at Rhodes and the hanging gardens of Babylon and the library of Alexandria. He wants to talk about these ancient, beautiful wonders that were made by all these damn nations, man. Where's Solomon's temple at? Because I believe it tell you, which it does, that all nations came to give Solomon gifts, man. And everybody heard of the wisdom of Solomon in the earth. And his wisdom excelled all the men of the East. But they don't want to throw Solomon in there. They want to talk about all these men and hey, but this temple was immaculate. When you read First Maccabees, it tell you that we had infinite sums of money, man. All of the gold and stuff that was dedicated, hey, there was billionaires, man. You know, because you had infinite sums of money when you read the book of First Maccabees or Second Maccabees, the 3rd chapter. So you had so much offerings and gold and costly stones. This thing was priceless, man. And guess who took it and robbed it? The Babylonians and the Edomites, right? And that this temple was destroyed, man. You know, this beautiful temple was destroyed during a siege of what? Siege of Jerusalem in 586 BC, right? So here's Solomon, more pictures of Solomon's temple, right? You can look that up and see the cherubims and how it was overlaid and the steps. You know, this is they have a lot of beautiful designs and details of Solomon's temple. Now remember, the thing about the temple is spiritual. Is everything in a temple is a physical representation of Yahawashi. All right. When you read about the candlestick, right? Yahawashi, he's the true candlestick. He's the true light. Pursuant to John 8 and 12. The altar of incense, right? Where the prayers during the hour of prayer, where they would light it and it would be ascended up to the Most High. Solomon set that thing up, but really Yahawashi, him praying for the elect and him being that true offering. It's that altar of incense. Him being that ultimate offering on the altar as a sweet savor to the Most High. Right? Him being the bread, not the show bread, but the true bread that came down from heaven. Right? So you don't need actual bread on the table. The table is what? The word of the Most High. And Yahawashi is the bread that we eat. That's what it says, thou preparest a table before me and the presence of mine enemies. It says, wisdom hath builded her house. She hath furnished her table. She hath killed her beast. She hath mingled her wine. And Proverbs 9. So that table And the bread is really the word of the Most High. See, the Most High deals with a lot of symbolism, figurative things, dark sayings, parables, mysteries, riddles, allegories, secrets. Okay? All of this belongs to our God, Yahawah. Now, there's something called the Siege of Jerusalem in 586 BC, right? The Siege of Jerusalem. Now, this was done by Nebuchadnezzar II. Nebuchadnezzar II. So let's read this and we'll get the precept. The Siege of Jerusalem, and that really marked the end of the temple, was the final event of the Judite revolts against Babylon, in which Nebuchadnezzar II, king of the Neo-Babylonian Empire, besieged Jerusalem, the capital city of the kingdom of Judah. Jerusalem fell after a 30-month siege, following which the Babylonians systematically destroyed the city and Solomon's temple. The kingdom of Judah was dissolved, and many of its inhabitants were exiled to Babylon. You see that? So that beautiful temple was destroyed, man, by the Babylonians. All right, let's get a precept. Let's go to the book of 2 Kings. All right, let's go to 2 Kings, chapter 25. Right, this 2 Kings, chapter 25 and verse 8. And in the 5th month, on the 7th day of the month, which is the 19th year of the king Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came Nebuzaradan, captain of the guard, a servant of the king of Babylon, into Jerusalem. And he burnt the house of Yahawah and the king's house and all the houses of Jerusalem, and every great man's house burnt he with fire. So he came and he destroyed the entire temple, man. Now, even though it says Nebuzaradan, when you go deep in the Apocrypha, it tells you that the Edomites were there. So the Edomites showed up and said, hey, look, we want the honors of burning the temple down. And Nebuzaradan, Nebuchadnezzar, and the men of Babylon said, yeah, you can do that. Right? They said, well, look, this is our war. We want to do it. The Edomites begged, okay, please let us burn the temple of Yahawah down. So they said, okay, all right, here, just burn it down. Let's go to 1 Ezra. Right? Let's go to 1 Ezra, chapter 4. Let's read that. Right? So that's how the first temple was destroyed, man. Right? 1 Ezra, chapter 4 and verse 45. Right? This Zerubbabel speaking. 1 Ezra chapter 4 and 45. I'm going to start at 44. And to send away all the vessels that were taken away out of Jerusalem, which Cyrus set apart when he vowed to destroy Babylon, and to send them again thither. Thou also hast vowed to build up the temple, which the Edomites burnt when Judea was made desolate by the Chaldees. So the Edomites actually burnt the temple down. How the hell did they get involved? I thought this was a war between the Babylonians and the children of Israel. Well, you know, Esau's always waiting, always lurking, always waiting to overthrow the people of the Most High. So the Edomites actually came and burnt the temple down. And Israel was led captive into Babylon. And then you have the time of Zerubbabel around 539 BC, where the Most High sent Zerubbabel, Joshua, and other men to go back and rebuild the second temple. So your first temple is Solomon's temple, designed by David and built by Solomon. Your second temple is built by Zerubbabel during the exile. All right? And it wasn't just Zerubbabel. You had other men that came with him, Joshua, right? And other men you read about in 1 Ezra. That's your second temple. So we're diving into the many temples of Yahawah, right? Or the 7 temples of Yahawah, right? 1 Ezra chapter 2 and verse let's see, 1. I'll jump down. Verse 3. First Ezra chapter 2 and 3. Saying, Thus saith Cyrus, king of the Persians, the Lord of Israel, the Most High Lord, hath made me king of the whole world, and commanded me to build him an house at Jerusalem and Jewry. If therefore there be any of you that are of his people, let the Lord, even his Lord, be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem that is in Judea, and build the house of the Lord of Israel. For he is the Lord that dwelleth in Jerusalem. Whosoever then dwell in the places about, let them help him, who I say that are his neighbors, with gold and with silver, with gifts, with horses, and with cattle, and other things which have been set forth by vow for the temple of Yahawah, Yahawashi, at Jerusalem. So Cyrus put a decree out, which was prophecy, to say after the 70 years of captivity, you're going to go back, and you could go back and build the temple. Go back and build up the temple of the Most High that was burnt by the Edomites and the Babylonians. So that's your second temple. Let's go to the book of Daniel. All right, let's go to Daniel chapter 9. This is Daniel chapter 9 and verse 24. Right? Daniel chapter 9 and 24. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city, to finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. So this was a prophecy from Gabriel given unto Daniel. Now we told him 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city. The 70 weeks aren't actual weeks, right? These weeks are actually years. All right. So it's really talking about how many years are going to transpire to accomplish everything that he mentioned, right? Sometimes in the Bible, a day can be referred to as a year. All right, let's get that. Let's go to Numbers chapter 14. All right, let's go to Numbers chapter 14, verse 34. Let's prove that. Numbers 14 and 34. After the number of the days in which ye searched the land, even 40 days, each day for a year, shall ye bear your iniquities, even 40 years, and ye shall know my breach of promise. So the Most High gave each day to be a year. That's why we were in the wilderness for 40 years. All right, 40 years, because it's a literal number that goes into how many days we searched the land. All right, so there you have it. That's that 40, or each day being a year. 40 days or 40 years. Let's get another one. The Genesis chapter 27. It's like I want Genesis. Bear with me. 29. It's like I want Genesis 29. That's what I want. All right, let's prove that. Let's get another one. This is Genesis chapter 29 and verse 27. That's what I want. Genesis 29 and 27. This is what Laban told Jacob. Fulfill her week, and we will give thee this also for the service which thou hast served me yet 7 other years. So Laban told Jacob, you work with me for a week, but that week is really 7 years. Each day is a year. You even have you have a weekly Sabbath, and you have a Sabbath of years. When you count your years of Jubilee, you count 49 years, and then you add another year, you have 50 years. All right, so that's how you count, and to get to your Jubilee. You count your Pentecost, you count 7 weeks. All right, so you have weeks of years. We read in Ezekiel, each day could be a year. We're reading in Genesis, 1 week could be 7 years. So when you have 70 weeks, It's really 70 weeks of years. What is 70 weeks of years? It's simply 70 times 7. What is 70 times 7? 490. All right. So let's go back to Daniel. Daniel chapter 9. So these 70 weeks, it's not literally, again, 70 weeks. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins and to make reconciliation for iniquity and to bring in everlasting righteousness and to seal up the vision and prophecy and to anoint the most holy. So you have 70 weeks to accomplish 7 different things. 70 weeks to accomplish 7 things. What are the 7 things that have to be accomplished? Right? To finish the transgression. That's 1. To make an end of sins, which is 2. To make reconciliation for iniquity, that's 3. And to bring in everlasting righteousness, that's 4. And to seal up the vision, that's 5. And the prophecy, that's 6. And to anoint the most holy, that's 7. All right, so that's a spiritual figure that the Most High gave. Let's read on to verse 25. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks, and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times. So the prophecy says that from the time of the commandment being sent out until Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. Meaning what? From the time that the wall is going to be built and the street until the time that Yahawashi is on the scene is going to be 69 weeks. Okay? 69 weeks. This is a deeper prophecy, but we're still going into it. 69 weeks is 483 years. So what it's saying is from the time that the wall, the commandment from Artaxerxes was given to build the wall until the time of Yahawashi is roughly around 480 years or so. Now, the original commandment was given by Cyrus the Great in 539 BC. He gave out the commandment that we read about in 1st Ezra, the 2nd chapter, when he said, who among you of all of your people, let him go up and build the house of his God. Let him go up and restore the temple. Let him go back with gold and horses and silver. That was done in 539 BC, right? And then you had another commandment given by Darius, right? You had another commandment given by Darius around 520 or so BC. And you can read all this in the book of 1st Ezra, and Nehemiah. Time is going to fail me to go to every single account, right? For sake of time. But, these are things that we have to read about as we go through these scriptures and as we get ourselves built up in the truth. We have to go into the history. An integral part of being an Israelite is knowing your history. How can you be an Israelite and not know your history? Right? You just want to eat lamb, drink wine, and have fun. No, you got to know about your people. First and foremost, you need to know about Yahawah, Ba'ashem Yahawashi. Then you need to know about your forefathers and your foremothers, man. So you had another commandment given by Darius around 520. Then you had 2 commandments given by Artaxerxes. One in 457 BC, that's in the time of Ezra, and another one around 445 to 444 BC, given by Nehemiah. Mark in Daniel 9th chapter, you do not start at 539 BC. You start around 445 BC to get a more approximate number of Yahawashi coming on the scene. That's when the wall was built in troublous times. All right? So let's read this again. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem. Now, the original commandment did start with Cyrus, right? Let's get that in the book of 2nd Chronicles, chapter 36. Right? 2nd Chronicles, chapter 36 and 22. Now, in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Lord spoken by the mouth of Jeremiah might be accomplished, which are 70 years. The Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom and put it also in writing, saying, Thus saith Cyrus, king of Persia, all the kingdoms of the earth hath the Lord God of heaven given me, and he hath charged me to build him an house in Jerusalem, which is in Judah. Who is there among you of all his people? The Lord his God be with him, and let him go up. And that was a commandment given to rebuild the temple. To rebuild the temple. And then you had another commandment to go rebuild the wall. All right. And that's what Daniel 9 and 25 is saying, to go back and build the wall. So let's go back and see this temple. So that was given by Zerubbabel, or given to Zerubbabel and Joshua. They went back, man. That's your first, let's see if we can find it. First exile, right? Or first, let's see how we want to phrase that. Yeah, let's do that. First exile of Jews from Babylon. Salakia. Babylon. And they should give you pretty much a detailed map. All right, let's see. They have a deportation. Okay, here we have it. Right, return from exile. See that? It's a good map right here. BibleMapper.com. All right. So here's your map legend, right? Like we always explain, your map legend helps you understand the map, right? It's a code. So the blue dotted arrow represents Zerubbabel's route. The red solid arrow represents Ezra's route. And the green dotted arrow represents Nehemiah's route. So the restoring of the second temple, you would really want to follow Zerubbabel's route because he's the one that laid the foundation of the temple. Read the book of Zechariah. Read Haggai. All right. Read Nehemiah. In 539 BC, King Cyrus decreed that all Jews exiled to Babylon could return to their homeland. A contingent of Jews returned under Zerubbabel's leadership. So here's where they marched from the blue, right, which is Babylon, and they traveled all up and down the river Euphrates through Assyria, all the way down past Hamath, and they came and dwelt where? To Jerusalem. And that's similar to Abraham's journey. Abraham had pretty much, he came from Ur the Chaldees, right? So it's kind of similar to when Abraham left Ur the Chaldees and went to the house of the Most High. Same thing during the time of Zerubbabel. They left and they went to the house of the Most High. So that's that map. And then around said to get a right date. So they say 458. I stick with 457, but 458, that's not bad. Then they say around 458 BC, the scribe Ezra led a smaller group of Jews back to Judea, taking a shorter, more dangerous desert route that passed through Tadmor. Because when Nehemiah, it's like when Ezra went, he said, look, we don't need no help, man. Right? We got this. Our Lord God is with us. So they went the shorter route. And then Nehemiah went, but Nehemiah went with resources. He had like an army that went with him. He had an escort. And it's spiritual that the temple was built in these different stages. And that's how it is in these last days. You had elders that's been in the truth for decades, man. 35, 40 years. That's pretty much like Zerubbabel, right? Laying the foundation. Then you had other men that came after them. Just like Ezra. Ezra came after, over 70 plus years after. Then he helped. And those are other men that come into the truth to help build and wake up Israel. And then you have more men that come in the 11th hour. And that's like Nehemiah to build the walls. So that's how a nation is built. That's how the temple is built. That's how the temple is currently being built. And this temple that's currently being built has been being built for like 50, 60 something years, man. And it's still in building. What temple am I talking about? The third temple. You got a lot of these so-called Amalekites, so-called Jews, trying to offer a red heifer and build a third temple in Palestine. That's madness, man. We are the third temple, right? Israel is the third temple. There's not going to be a third temple. And if they try to build a third temple, it's going to be destroyed, man. And the Most High is not with that. Nevertheless, the second temple was built in different stages. So how every temple is designed is extremely spiritual. The first temple was a figure of the creation of heaven and earth, where the Father gave his Son a design of how the temple is going to be built. The second temple is built on a spiritual level because it's built in stages, right? Or the Israel, rather, is being reformed in stages. Zerubbabel and Joshua, and then Ezra, and then Nehemiah. Just like now, brothers coming to the truth in the 60s, 70s, and the 80s. Then you have brothers that came into truth or elders in the 90s, right? To like 95, 96. Then you have men that came in, 2000s, 2010 on up. And these are the men that are helping continually build the temple. It's not a one-man job. It has never been a one-man job. There's not one temple is done by one man where he has every skill, he's not a polymath. He knows how to do this and this. No, every building takes masons that deal with stone, carpenters in the wood, electricians, glass makers, foremen, architects. Right? You need many different members to build this temple. Now, let's look at the second temple that was built by Zerubbabel. Right? Let's go to the book of Zechariah, chapter 4. All right, Zechariah chapter 4 and verse 7. It reads, this is one of my favorite chapters, right? This is Zechariah 4 and 6. Then he answered and spake unto me, saying, This is the word of Yahawah by Yahawashi unto Zerubbabel, saying, Not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, said the Lord of hosts. So Zerubbabel was essentially a king, but he couldn't carry that title of king because they were in captivity. They were under tribute to the Persians. And Zerubbabel is of the seed of David. He's of the seed of David. So technically, he's supposed to be king. And he's building, but the Most High told Zerubbabel, you're not building this temple by your own might, nor by power, but by my spirit. That's the same spirit that gave David the blueprint. That's the same spirit that was on Solomon. That is the same spirit that is on us. This temple being built and Israel coming to the truth is not because we know any damn thing. Not because we're mighty or we're strong and you got this camp with this many men and these guys know these breakdowns and these men can do this well. No, man. It's all by the spirit of Yahawah, by Hashem, Yahawashi. Right? That's how this temple is being built. That's how every temple is being built. The first temple by Solomon, the second temple by Zerubbabel, and his third temple that we're currently building right now. There's a few more stones left, man. It reads, Not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, said the Lord of hosts. Who art thou, O great mountain? Before Zerubbabel thou shalt become a plain, and he shall bring forth the headstone thereof with shouting, crying, Grace, grace unto it. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, The hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of this house. His hands shall also finish it, and thou shalt know that the Lord of hosts hath sent me unto you. Right? So let's pull up a temple of Zerubbabel. Right? Let's pull up Zerubbabel's temple. See if we get a map on that or a diagram on that. All right, let's see if we can get. And Zerubbabel means born in Babylon. Right? Let's see if we can get a second temple layout of Zerubbabel's temple. Now, it wasn't as large as Solomon's temple, right? It wasn't as expensive because he didn't have all of that gold. Remember, all of the stuff that David had, Zerubbabel and them didn't have it, man. They offered what they could. They had help from the king. They laid it out, through the wisdom of the Most High. Nevertheless, right? It wasn't the same, right? It wasn't the same. Now, this temple, let's see that. All right, let's go on this. Oh boy. We'll just go back to where we were. All right, let's read a little bit of this. It reads, Interesting facts about Zerubbabel's temple. Israel's second temple, built after the return from Babylon. The Jews have been home for 16 years, right? The rebuilding of the temple. Foundation was laid in 536 BC, was discontinued in 534. Yeah, it was discontinued when you read Ezra and Nehemiah, you know? And read these accounts, man. How all of these wicked men kept writing letters to the king. Oh, they're building, they shouldn't be building. They're going to usurp authority. They're not going to pay taxes. They rebel against all kingdoms. So they had to try to hinder the building, like they're doing now. Through all of the crafty hate speech talk and all of the disinformation, misinformation, anti so-called Shemitism that they're putting out there to try to stop this word from coming out, man. Right, let's read on. Dedicated on March 12th, 515 BC. So we read about an original dedication with David and Solomon. Then there's another dedication with Zerubbabel. So remember, when you're keeping a feast of dedication, it's extremely spiritual. Zerubbabel's temple stood for 500 years. Zerubbabel's temple exceeded the dimensions of Solomon's temple. In magnificence and splendor, Zerubbabel's temple did not compare with Solomon's temple. And that's what we went into. All right. And they actually gave a few precepts. Right. Let's get that in Ezra. Verify. Right. Yep. This is it. This is a good precept. Ezra chapter 3, and I'll start at 11. And they sang together by course in praising and giving thanks unto the Lord, because he is good, for his mercy endureth forever toward Israel. And all the people shouted with a great shout when they praised the Lord, because the foundation of the house of Yahawah was laid. Right? But many of the priests and Levites and chief of the fathers, who were ancient men that had seen the first house. So you had men that was alive when Solomon's temple was built, that saw that temple. And they saw the second temple. When the foundation of this first house was laid before their eyes, wept with a loud voice, and many shouted aloud for joy. So that had to been, emotional. That was a big deal, so that the people cannot discern the noise of the shout of joy from the noise of the weeping of the people. For the people shouted with a loud shout, and the noise was heard afar off. So when they built the temple, it was a turn up, man. It was righteousness, man. It was I can't even think of the word, man. It was madness, but it was in righteousness. You have people screaming, people shouting. Hey, read First Ezra, man, the 5th chapter. You have people blowing the trumpets, and it was so loud that the other nations heard it, man. Imagine your country being so loud, your country, that the other countries hear it. Right? That's like we hear, what the hell is going on in Canada? Is it an earthquake? No, they're just shouting, they're turning up. Right? That's a shout right there, man. Let's go to First Ezra. Right? Let's go to First Ezra. Let's prove that. You can say, well, I don't believe that. Nobody can do that. Well, that's what the Bible says, man. That's what the Most High said. Right? That's what the Lord said. First Ezra, chapter 5. See that? And verse 64. But many with trumpets and joy shouted with loud voice, and so much that the trumpets might not be heard for the weeping of the people. So that's loud, man. Imagine people, they can scream and yell over the trumpets, and trumpets are loud, man. Yet the multitude sounded marvelously, so that it was heard afar off. So everybody heard this thing, man, when a second temple was built. Wherefore, when the enemies of the tribe of Judah and Benjamin heard it, they came to know what the noise of the trumpet should mean. And they perceived that they that were of the captivity did build the temple unto the Lord God of Israel. They said, hey, look, man, these guys must be building. Then what did they say? So they went to Zerubbabel. Now it says Jesus, but it's really Joshua. and to the chief of the families, and said unto them, we will build together with you. Right? So they always trying to get in on this thing, man. Can we build with you? Can a nation be saved? John 3:16. What about Cornelius? What about Galatians chapter 3 and verse 28? What about Romans chapter 10 and verse 4? What about Romans, the 11th chapter, and a wild olive tree being grafted in? What about, hey, they're always trying to get in this thing, man, and build. We want to build with you. No. Can we join your camp? They're on a comment board, scoffing. They're in brothers' inbox, agents, false brethren. We want to build with you. No. Hell no, man. We got it, man. We got this, man. You know? Let's see how our forefathers get down. And this is a racist statement right here, man, that Zerubbabel is about to make. This is racist. He's telling the other nations, no, you're not allowed, man. And that's a beautiful thing to say. And we ought to learn how to say no more to the nations, man. Just say no. Because look what, they didn't really want to build in sincerity. While you're building, they'll stab you in the back. You'll build this and they'll tear it down. Hell no, you're not building with us, man. Let's read on. First Ezra 8 and 69. First Ezra 5 and 69. For we likewise, as you, do obey your Lord. Right, see that? And do sacrifice unto him from the days of Asbazareth, the king of the Assyrians, who brought us hither. Now check this out. Then Zerubbabel and Joshua and the chief of the families of Israel said unto them, it is not for us and you to build together an house unto the Lord our God. We ourselves alone will build unto the Lord of Israel, according as Cyrus, the king of the Persians, hath commanded us. Meaning, no, man. It's not for us and you. It's not a we thing. It's a us thing. It's for the Jews. You're not allowed. But the heathen of the land, lying heavy upon the inhabitants of Judea and holding them straight, hindered their building. So they said, all right, we can't overthrow you that way. We're still going to overthrow you. We got another plan. We're going to hinder the building. And right now they're trying to hinder the building, man. Like I said, how are they hindering the building but trying to stop the word from coming out? Through all of their secret plots and websites and the ADL and the damn, was that the Canary mission or organization and the CIA? They got all of these plots and plans to try to stop us from doing the work of the Most High. And by their secret plots and popular persuasions and commotions, they hindered the finishing of the building all the time that King Cyrus lived. So they were hindered from building for the space of 2 years until the reign of Darius. So they have secret plots, right? Now, they didn't have secret plots during Solomon's time because David killed them all. He subdued everybody. But then they had secret plots in the second temple. And now they have secret plots in the third temple, right? And the Lord said they're going to have an evil thought in Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, to try to, do something to the third temple. So let's go back to this. Let's go back to these so-called facts. Zerubbabel's temple did not have the ark. Well, I wanted to kind of read a little bit of this. Okay, so that's pretty much it on that, right? The work of restoring Jerusalem went on for some 70 years after the temple was built, right? Because Nehemiah came and other men, came to help build the temple. So that's it on that. So that's your second temple being built, right? A layout of Zerubbabel's temple, right? A layout of Zerubbabel's temple by the Spirit and power of Yahawah. Now you also had Herod. So Herod, what he did was, I'm saying, it's not its own separate temple, but I'm going to just put it in his own category, right? Because Herod was a convert. When you go into the history of the Maccabees, you understand there was a man named John Hyrcanus. Let's pull up John Hyrcanus II. He's one of the sons of Simon, right? One of the sons of Simon. And what he did was he did a mass conversion, forced conversion over all of the Idumeans. And all of the Idumeans were forced to learn the laws and the commandments, and they were circumcised. So you had a man named Antipater. Antipater ended up being in the army of John Hyrcanus, and he had a league with Pompey and the Romans. And eventually, or really, he was in one of the Maccabean armies, right? I believe it was John Hyrcanus or one of his sons. But long story short, Antipater the Idumean is the great grandfather and ancestor of Herod the Great. Okay. Now, Herod the Great, and you had another Herod and another Herod that were building the temple, right? And all of their fathers would help add on to the temple. So let's pull up John Hyrcanus. Right? It's fitting. He is one of the sons of the Maccabees. All right, let's jump down. Let's see what he did. Let's see. Okay, around 63 BC, Hyrcanus had restored to his position as high priest, but not to the kingship. Political authority rested with the Romans, whose interests were represented by Antipater. See that? Antipater the first, the Idumean. And he was part of the army of the Maccabees, who primarily promoted the interest of his own. In 47 BC, Julius Caesar restored some political authority to Hyrcanus. So they don't tell you about that. They don't go into how Julius Caesar gave political authority to a so-called black man named John Hyrcanus by appointing him ethnarch, right? An ethnarch is a political leadership over an ethnic group. This, however, had little practical effect since Hyrcanus yielded to Antipater in everything. So Antipater the Idumean is the ancestor of the Herodian dynasty. Antipater the first, the Idumean, was the founder of the Herodian dynasty and father. See, that's his father of Herod the Great. Herod the Great is the one who sought to kill Yahawashi. So that the Maccabean history and the time of Yahawashi is not far off at all. That's why you have to read 1st and 2nd Maccabees, and it immediately goes, it's a few years off, immediately goes to the time of Yahawashi. You know? According to Josephus, he was the son of Antipas and had formerly held that name. A native of Idumea, a region southeast of Judah, in which the Edomites settled during the classical period, Antipater became a powerful official under the later Hasmonean kings. So that's what Jake always messes up. You put an Edomite in power. The Lord says, set him not by your right hand, lest he seek to take thy place. In Ecclesiastes chapter 12. The Lord said, who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or any such as come nigh wild beast? And that same chapter. So Antipater became a powerful official under the later Hasmonean kings, and subsequently became a client of the Roman general Pompey the Great, when Pompey conquered Judah in the name of the Roman Republic. So Antipater the Idumean worked underhand with a fellow Edomite, Pompey. And Pompey said, all right, I'm going to work with you. We're going to get the so-called black man out the way. We're going to kill him and all of his women. We're going to set up your seed. And that's where Herod the Great comes from. Herod the Great, an Edomite. And he is the one who was a convert, because his father was a forced convert. So he kind of knew the laws. He was forced to know the commandments. He was set up as the king by the Romans. So that's why when you read about Herod's temple was built by Herod the Great because he was given the title of king, King Herod. Let's go to the book of Matthew. So your third, it's not really your third temple, but it's an offshoot of the second temple, which is the Herodian temple. All right, let's go to Matthew. It's like I want Matthew, the second chapter. All right, Matthew chapter 2 and verse 1. Now, when Yahawashi was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east unto Jerusalem. So Yahawashi was born in the days of Herod the king. So let's go into Herod, see what they say in the Greek. See that? They got the whole, I'm not going to read this whole thing. So they got different, they got every Herod. So Herod is a title. You got Agrippa the first, Agrippa the second, Herod the Great, right? So Herod means heroic, right? So I'm not going to read this whole thing, but it reads, the name of a royal family that flourished among the Jews in the times of Hamashiach and the apostles. Herod the Great was the son of Antipater of Idumea, appointed king of Judea 40 BC, 40 by Roman Senate, at the suggestion of Antony and with the consent of Octavian. He at length overcame the great opposition which the country made to him and took possession of the kingdom by 37 BC after the battle of Actium. He was confirmed by Octavian, whose favor he ever enjoyed. He was brave and skilled in war, learned and sagacious, but also extremely suspicious and cruel. Hence, he destroyed the entire royal family of the Hasmoneans. So the Maccabean dynasty or the Hasmonean dynasty was cut out by Herod, the so-called great. And he sought to kill our Lord, man. Right? And he sought to kill our Lord. So that's why, let's read on, right? Hence, he destroyed the entire royal family of Hasmoneans, put to death many of the Jews that opposed his government, and proceeded to kill even his dearly beloved wife, Marianne of the Hasmonean line, and his two sons she bare by him. By these acts of bloodshed, and especially by his love and imitation of Roman customs and institutions, and by the burdensome taxes imposed upon his subjects, he so alienated the Jews that he was unable to regain their favor by his splendid restoration of the temple and other acts of munificence. All right. He died the 70th year of his age, the 37th year of his reign, the fourth before the Dionysian era. Right. Then you have the other Herod. So this man essentially had a splendid restoration of the temple. So the temple that Zerubbabel built, he added and restored it, right? And it took time. That's why the scripture says 46 years was his temple in building, and will thou rear it up in what? In 3 days. And it said, Yahawashi spake this of his body. Right, let's get 2 quick precepts. Not Luke 23. Let's go to Luke 21. Right, Luke 21 and verse 5. And as some spake of the temple, how it was ordained, it's like adorned with goodly stones and gifts. He said, as for these things which ye behold, the days will come, in the which there shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. So Yahawashi said that second temple is going to be thrown down. And it got thrown down by the Romans. So Yahawashi saw that second temple, man. Everybody saw that second temple, the Herodian temple that Herod was getting down with, man. Right? That Herod was getting down with by the spirit and power of Yahawah Bashim Yahawashi. Right? And they actually said 46 years was this temple and building without reared up in 3 days. And it says he spake this of his body. Let's get that in John chapter 2. Right? John chapter 2 and verse 19. Yahawashi answered and said unto them, destroy this temple, and after 3 days I will raise it up. Then said the Jews, 46 years was this temple in building, wilt thou rear it up in 3 days? So he's speaking about how that second temple is being built. It was originally built by Zerubbabel, but then remember, the Herodians came and they were adding to it. And they said, after all this work, you think you could build it in 3 days? But Yahawashi wasn't talking about an actual temple. It says, but he spake of the temple of his body. So he's really talking about his body. Our body is a temple. Yahawashi's body is a temple. We are a temple. And we're being reared up in 3 days. Right? Let's go to the book of Hosea, chapter 6. All right, Hosea chapter 6 and verse 1. Come and let us return unto the Lord, for he hath torn and he will heal us. He hath smitten and he will bind us up. After 2 days he will revive us. And the third day, see that? And the third day he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight. So Yahawashi said, destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up. Speaking of his body, we are the body of the Lord as well, being raised up on the third day. Now, let's get Herod's temple. Right? Let's see Herod's temple. This is pretty much a picture of Herod's temple. Right? And you can see how it was designed, man, with costly stones and 46 years in building, etc. And he did this guy Herod built a lot of things, man. And he thought building a temple would get him in favor with the Jews. Right? You can't build and get favor with the Jews, man. So he had a chamber for the Nazarites, chamber of wood, the courtyard. You read about a lot of this. The gate, called Beautiful in Acts, the 3rd chapter. Solomon's porch, right? You read about a lot of different references of the temple and the time of the New Testament. So when you read Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, there's a lot of different references of Herod's temple. All right, Herod's temple. So the next temple, and this temple was what? Destroyed in 70 AD, right? Destroyed in 70 AD. Let's go to Luke chapter 19. Right? Luke chapter 19 and verse 41. And when he was come near, he beheld the city and wept over it. So Yahawashi went to Jerusalem and he started weeping over the city, saying, if thou hadst known, even thou at least, and this it's like in this thy day, the things which belong unto thy peace, but now they are hid from thine eyes. He said, man, if you only would have known what I know, if you only knew that this temple is about to be destroyed, the Lord hid it from your eyes. For the days shall come upon thee, that thine enemies shall cast a trench about thee, and compass thee round, and keep thee in on every side. Who are the enemies? The Romans. That's what Zechariah said, that we should be saved from our enemies, from the hand of all that hate us. And Luke, the 1st chapter. Zacharias and Yahawashi called the so-called white man our enemy, man. And they were blameless, both of them. And shall lay thee even with the ground, and thy children within thee, and they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another, because thou knewest not the time of thy visitation. See that? So Yahawashi himself, man, spoke of the temple being destroyed. When you read on, Yahawashi cast the wickedness out of the temple. Verse 45. And he went into the temple and began to cast out them that sold therein and them that bought. So what are you casting out of your temple, man? Is it lust? Is it pride? There's something that has to be cast out. Now you can't say, no, my temple is pure, it's perfect. I have nothing in my temple. Something has to be cast out. Something should be removed, man. It may not be lust and pride, but what is it, man? Is it slothfulness? Is it rebellion? Are you not submissive? Right? I mean, what is it? Right? Are you a liar? Do you think wicked thoughts, concupiscence? Are you lukewarm? What are you going to cast out of your temple, man? And the zeal that Yahawashi had. Because when Yahawashi cast this stuff about the temple, he was zealous about it. He was on fire. When our fathers, the Judas Maccabees, Simon, Jonathan, Eleazar, John, when they restored the temple during the Feast of Dedication, they were zealous about it. When Solomon did it, he was zealous. When David wrote it out, he was zealous. You have to be on fire when it comes to the temple of the Most High. Now, this temple was destroyed, man, by the Romans, and that is the siege of Jerusalem. Right? Let's get that. Right? 70 AD, siege of Jerusalem. Right? Siege of Jerusalem. Let's see if we can get something immediately on the temple. Okay, it's right in the beginning. The siege of Jerusalem of 70 CE, that's common era, was the decisive event of the first Israelite-Roman war, in which the Roman army, led by future emperor Titus, besieged Jerusalem. And really, you had a Jake that was with him. They say Titus, but the credit should go to Tiberius Julius Alexander, which was an Israelite, a so-called black man. Look it up. And he was the mastermind to actually destroy Jerusalem. He gave the so-called white man all of the ideas. Just like Menelaus in the time of the Maccabees, he gave Antiochus the plans and the ideas, man. It's always a wicked Jake. Just like Judas Iscariot gave Herod and Pontius Pilate where the Lord was going to be at, and the wicked Jews. It's always a sellout. Don't think Esau could do this stuff on his own. He needs Jake. Okay? The center of Israelite rebel resistance and the Roman province of Judea. Following a 5-month siege, the Romans destroyed the city and the second Israelite temple. Right? And the second Israelite temple. So then they said they did it 3 days before Passover. Wickedness, man. Wickedness. So the second temple was destroyed. Here's a picture of what the second temple may have looked like under Herod. Right? You got the gate, you got what they call so-called Nicanor's gate. You got, this is the gate called Beautiful. Right here. That you read about that in Acts. That's the gate called Beautiful. That's Nicanor's gate. That's the courtyard for the woman. That's the courtyard on this side for the Nazarites. That is the court for the wood, right? So you have to kind of know this thing, right? Then you had the lavers and you had the sacrifice, and inside you had what you had inside with the candlesticks. All of this is the second temple. All right, the second temple. You got the outer court, you got the inner court, man. Right? If you look up the ancient city of Jerusalem, right? Let's say Jerusalem. If we can get an actual layout. In the time of our Lord, Hamashiach Yahawashi. All right, let's see if this is a good site or so. All right, let's see. Well, that's not what I want. All right, that's okay, right? Let's go back. All right, you can look it up and see how the temple, or how the temple was fitted in a compacted city of Jerusalem. So your first temple, all right, this is decent right here, right? You can see it from here. All right, so you have your lower city, your upper city, right? And you had the Temple Mount. You had the temple where it was laid at, over the wall. So it was hard to get into Jerusalem, man, because you had so many walls and so many gates. It was extremely fortified where that temple was. So we covered the first temple, then we did Zerubbabel's temple and the additions of the Herodian temple. And like we keep going into, we are the third temple, right? We are the third temple. Let's go to the 1 Corinthians chapter 3. All right. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 16. Know ye not that ye are the temple of the Most High, and that the Spirit of the Most High dwelleth within you? If any man defile the temple of the Most High, him shall the Most High destroy. For the temple of the Most High is holy, which temple ye are. So we are the temple, man. We are the stones, right? That's what Yahawah Bashim Yahawashi said. Go to Revelation chapter 11 and verse 1. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod. And the angel stood, saying, Rise and measure the temple of the Most High, and the altar, and them that worship therein. And this is not an actual measurement with the ruler or with the measuring tape. It's really the angel looking at the elect. But the elect are likened to a temple. Men are likened to trees, stones, water, beast. All right. Now we're likened to a temple right here, and the altar. But the court which is without the temple, leave out and measure it not, for it is given to the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread underfoot 42 months. So if you want to get a picture of the third temple, look at all of the brothers out there, right, of the nation of Israel. Huh? We are that third temple, and the women are part of that temple as well, and the children. So I can't pull up an actual diagram of the third temple. Look in the mirror. You are a stone within this temple. All right, let's go to the book of 1 Peter, chapter 2. 1 Peter, chapter 2 and verse 4. To whom coming as unto a living stone, disallowed indeed of men, but chosen of the Most High and precious. So Yahawashi is a lively stone in this temple. Yea, also, as lively stones. Let's read that again. 1 Peter 2 and 5. Yea, also, meaning you too, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house and holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to the Most High by Yahawashi HaMashiach. So there's a third temple that's being built, and you really need 144,000 stones. Once that last stone is laid up, and Yahawashi is building this. And we're building. We're builders for the Lord, man. The Apostle Paul likened himself unto a wise master builder. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 9. For we are laborers together with God. Yea, are the Most High's husbandry. Yea, are the Most High's building. We are that temple, according to the grace of the Most High, which is given unto me as a wise master builder. I have laid the foundation, and another buildeth thereon, but let every man take heed how he buildeth thereupon. For other foundation can no man lay than that which is laid, which is Yahawashi HaMashiach. So every brother's building on this temple, right? That's why you have so many men coming into the truth, man. So many women. Brothers go to camp. They may do the videos, make a post. You may, talk to a family member. Then that person coming to the truth. Then they learn, and we're wise master builders, and we have to go out and gather stones to teach and feed the flock. So the third temple is really us. All right. Now another temple I want to go into, and this temple, I'm kind of moving fast, right, for sake of time. And this temple is going to be attempted to be destroyed by the so-called white man in another siege. Right now, it's not called the siege of Babylon or the siege of Jerusalem, right, or by the Babylonians and the Romans, but this siege is going to be by the so-called white man, predominantly in America. He's going to attempt to destroy this third temple, right? Let's go to Matthew 24. Lucky I went to put 25. Right, Matthew 24, and we go over this all the time, right? Or many times. Matthew 24 and 15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. So this is speaking about not the time of the Greeks, because this is after, not just the time of the Romans, but also another abomination of desolation inside the third temple against the third level of priests. We are that third level of priests, man. the priesthood under the order of Melchizedek, doing we're doing sacrifices in the temple right now. This is a sacrifice upon the altar. Right? So we're doing sacrifices, and these nations are going to despise that. And Esau is going to come in and like a madman, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. He's going to try to pull this temple down. And the Lord said, when you see that happening, you're going to become a pilgrim on the earth. That's what this means. Then let them, which be in Judea, flee into the mountains. And that same thing happened during the time of the Greeks, happened during the time of the Roman Empire. It's going to happen again to the third temple. So we're not waiting on the Amalekite man to build a third temple, man. Don't even mind that. That's in the news. They're talking about it. Is it prophecy to look at that. Man fire a shotgun outside of a temple. That's like the Jewish man. Let's see, third temple. Right? The Israelis. Where is Israelis in the Bible? What scripture is that? The Israelis set for a new Jewish temple on Al-Aqsa site. So that's not of the Most High. Look at this guy. Look at this future child molester, future pedophile, right? Just looking at how our temple was, man, just lusting after it. This has nothing to do with you nations, man. Right? So let's talk about another temple. We know that we are a temple. Another temple is the Most High's temple. So there's a temple that was done on the earth, and there's a temple that's in the third heaven. There's a temple right now in the third heaven, and that's the temple of Yahawah, the Revelation chapter 11. Right? This is Revelation chapter 11 and verse 19. Right? We're going to speak about a few more temples. We're going to go into Yahawah's temple, right? The Most High's temple that's in the third heaven right now. Right? Revelation chapter 11 and 19. And the temple of the Most High was opened in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his testament, and there were lightnings and voices and thunderings and an earthquake and great hail. So there's a temple in the third heaven. What do you think David's blueprint was patterned after? That the design of David's blueprint was literally a replication of what was done in the third heaven. The only thing that was designed different were a little bit of possibly the dimensions, right? But literally the temple that Solomon built and David designed was a replica of the third heaven, because the Most High got a temple. And inside of his temple, he got the Ark of the Testament. Let's look at Solomon's temple again. Right? Now, inside of, there's another picture. Okay. Inside of Solomon, inside of the Most High's temple, instead of it being, a mercy seat, essentially the Most High sits on a throne inside of his temple. Right? But the Ark of the Covenant was just the representation of Yahawah Bashem Yahawashi. That's why the mercy seat is where you did the sacrifices, and the Lord will come down in Exodus 25 and commune with thee, because the Most High has an actual throne inside of his temple that he's sitting in right now. And inside of that throne is also an Ark of the Testament, huh? To this from the spirit and power of Yahawah Bashem Yahawashi. So let's get a few precepts on the throne and the temple of Yahawah. Isaiah chapter 6. Isaiah chapter 6 and 1. And the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and what in his train filled the temple. So Isaiah saw the Lord in his temple. And inside of that temple in the third heaven that man hasn't been in, man can't just walk in that temple. That is the holiest I mean, there's nothing more holy than that. Now we're a holy people, but we are unclean up there in the temple, man. We can't go up to the Most High's temple. That's beyond us, man. Now you can say, well, look, I'm a Levite or I'm a Judite. No, man, you're filthy. You're on the earth. You stink. You don't know what's going on. We're wicked. We're sinners. We're defiled. Right? Your body's corrupt. Your mind is bad. What do you think you're doing? You can just walk in the temple of the Most High. But when Isaiah saw, he saw his train filled the temple. His train is his garment. So the Most High got that white garment on, but it extends out like a mighty, mighty train. It's not talking about Thomas the train, man. Or Thomas the train was in the temple, and he's, no, man. It's speaking about the end of the Most High's garment. So Isaiah saw the temple of the Lord. Let's go to Psalms, chapter 11. Psalms chapter 11 and verse 4. Yahawah is in his holy temple. Yahweh's throne is in heaven. His eyes behold, his eyelids try the children of men. So it's plain. The Most High is in his holy temple. So that's why he don't dwell in a temple made with hands. He has his own temple made without hands. So why does the Most High have to come down and want to be in your nasty temple? Man? The air is bad, right? Everything, it's cold. You got weather. You got to do. I mean, I do all types of stuff, man. Wicked man. And the Lord dwelleth afar off, man. Even in the time of Moses, the Lord says, sanctify yourselves the third day, man. I'm coming down. You better be holy, man. You better cleanse yourself. The Lord said, come not at your wives. And that was still afar off, man, when the Lord descended upon the mount in Exodus chapter 19. So the Lord is in his holy temple, and his throne is in heaven, man. Right? And his throne is in heaven, right? So I had a few precepts on this temple. Let's go to Psalms 102 and 19. Right? Psalms chapter 102 and verse 19. For he hath looked down from the height of his sanctuary. From heaven did Yahawah, Ba'ashem Yahawashi, behold the earth. So the Lord is in his sanctuary, that temple, and inside that temple, the Most High can look on the earth. He can dwell and see everything going on the earth. Man, woman, beast, ants, leaves, but it's all taking place where? Inside of Yahawah, Ba'ashem Yahawashi's temple, right? Let's get maybe one or two more in his temple. Revelation chapter 14. Revelation chapter 14 and verse 17. And another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. So you have angels that work inside of the temple. Just like you have Levites. You had a Levite that did the offerings. You had a Levite that did the altar of incense, like Zacharias. You had a high priest. Yahawashi is the high priest inside of this temple. He is high priest, right? And all of the other angels are ministers inside of the temple, and they minister to the Most High. You have one angel, right? Let's go to Revelation 8. Let's see about this. Revelation chapter 8 and 3. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer. And the altar is inside of the temple. So what John saw, he saw an angel, which is like a priest, because there's an angelic priesthood. You got a Levitical priesthood. You got the priesthood of Melchizedek. You got the patriarchal priesthood, right, which is the time of our fathers, our forefathers. Then you have an angelic celestial priesthood. And you have angelic priest. So you have one angelic priest. His job is to minister at the altar, like John the Baptist father, Zacharias, or like a high priest, So let's read this. Revelation 8 and 3. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer. And there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar, which was before the throne. So let's see where the altar is inside of the temple. And let's see what John actually saw. See that? So you have the altar of incense, and John saw an angel right here, right? And the Most High sitting on the throne. So when you read Revelation, the 4th chapter, he saw the Most High sitting on the throne. Revelation 8, he's looking at where the altar of incense is, inside of the temple, right? That's why he said, I saw a door in heaven, right? And he went through the door and he saw, the Most High sitting on the throne. He saw the menorah, the 7 lamps of fire. Let's get that in Revelation 4, right? So, the third heaven is pretty deep. Revelation chapter 4 and 1. After this, I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven. And that door is the door of the temple, right? And the first voice which I heard was as it were of a trumpet talking with me, which said, Come up hither, and I will show thee things which must be hereafter. And immediately I was in the spirit, and behold, a throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne. So he saw the Most High sitting on his throne, and he saw the 24 elders about the throne, right? Now let's jump down. Verse 5. And out of the throne proceeded lightnings and thunderings and voices. And there were 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of the Most High. So the Lord has a menorah, for lack of better terms. But his menorah is not an actual candlestick. His menorah are the 7 spirits of the Most High. Those are all of the angels that minister before the Most High. So there's a menorah, or a candlestick, for lack of better terms. You have a throne. You have a temple. You have the Most High inside the temple. You have the altar of incense where the angel is at. All of this is in the Most High's temple, right? Let's get something else in the temple, right? Let's go to, let's see what we can go to. Let's go to Revelation, right? Chapter 6, right? So there's a few precepts I want to go to. Now, I'm not going to be able to go to all of them for sake of time. In Revelation chapter 6 and verse 9. And when he had opened the 5th seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of God and for the testimony which they held. So let's look at where the altar is in the 3rd heaven. So you have your altar, and underneath the altar in the 3rd heaven, where the blood would drain pursuant to the law, he saw the souls of the men that were slain for the word of Yahawah, Bashem Yahawashi. Right? Let's go to the book of Exodus. All right, let's go to Exodus. Let's do the comparison to kind of show how that was. I believe this is what I want. Exodus 27. Yeah, this is the altar, the bronze altar that was made. All right. And thou shalt make an altar of shittim wood, 5 cubits long and 5 cubits broad. The altar shall be 4 square, and the height thereof shall be 3 cubits. All right, so there's an altar up there. Let's go to the book of, we went into the menorah. Let's go to Revelation chapter 4. Okay. We covered the 24 elders. We covered, let's go to 1 Kings, actually. There's a lot. So Salaki, there's a lot I want to get into, and I know time is going to fail me. I want to kind of just get some of these comparisons that are in the Most High's temple. So 1 Kings chapter 70, it's like chapter 7 and 50. And the bowls and snuffers and the basins and the spoons and the censers of pure gold, and the hinges of gold, both for the doors of the inner house, the most holy place, and for the doors of the house, to wit of the temple. Like we read, there was a door in heaven. There's a door for the temple, and there are bowls for the temple as well. Solomon had bowls in his temple. The Most High had bowls, right? In Revelation, the 5th chapter, or has bowls. Revelation chapter 5 and verse 8, right? It reads, and when he had taken the book, the 4 beasts and 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps and golden vials full of odors, which are the prayers of the saints. So let's go into this word vial, right? A vial is essentially a bowl. So remember, everything that they had, even the instruments and the ornaments thereof, came from the third heaven. A broad, shallow bowl, a deep saucer. So Solomon had bowls because he saw the angels. The angels have bowls. The angels have an altar. There's a temple in the third heaven, right? There's a temple in the third heaven. There's incense, Revelation the 8th chapter. There's incense in the earth, right? When you read 1 Kings 7 and 50 again, let's see, there's the golden censer. Censers of pure gold. Revelation 8, the angel tell you he had a golden censer, that he should offer it with the prayers of the saints. We read about the Ark of the Covenant. We read about there being one in the third heaven in Revelation chapter 11 and verse 19. Right? So there's a lot of comparisons that we can go into between the sacrificials, like at the temple on the earth, and the temple in the third heaven. All right. So you have Solomon's temple, you have Zerubbabel's temple, you have the extension of Herod, you have us being a temple, you have the temple of Yahawah, right, in the third heaven, right? Let's go to Revelation 21. Another temple. Revelation chapter 21 and verse 22. And I saw no temple therein, for the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are the temple of it, meaning of us, right? So on the highest level, yeah, there's a temple in the third heaven, but when it comes to the elect's relationship between the Most High, for lack of better terms, the Most High is the temple because we dwell in the Most High, right? We dwell in the Spirit, all right? We dwell with Yahawah Bashmer Shai, and they dwell with us, right? We live in the Spirit. We live in this truth, right? They are the temple on the deepest level, right? Let's get another precept. Well, let's get a precept on that. Let's go to John chapter 4. Right, let's go to John chapter 4. Let me see where I'm at with time. Okay, Salaki. Let me see where I'm at with time. Okay, let's go to Revelation chapter. It's like John chapter 4 and 21. Right? It reads, Yahawashi saith unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour cometh when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father. You see that? That mountain is Mount Gerizim, or the Sumerians worshipped. Then he said, You're not going to worship at Jerusalem. Ye worship, ye know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. Because the Most High and Yahawashi are a temple. So we don't have to physically go into a temple. We are in a temple. Now you can say, well, I thought we are a temple. No, we are a temple, but that's likening us into stones. But on another level, as you know, flesh and blood, we're inside of the temple, which is we're inside of Yahawah Bashim Yahawashi, the spirit, man. There's truth. And we worship the Most High in spirit and in truth. So you got to discern what temple, how the temple is being used in our relationship to the Most High. Sometimes it's just talking about us being stones and the Most High Spirit dwelling in us, but then it's us dwelling in the Most High as well. All right, let's read that again. John 4 and 23. But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father seeketh such to worship him. The Most High is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. It didn't say physically going to a temple, physically doing this, physically doing that. No, right now we're worshiping the Most High in spirit and in truth. right, on a deeper level, right? Let's go to the book of Revelation, right? Revelation chapter 3 and verse 12. It reads, him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God. You see that? And he shall go no more out. And I will write upon him the name of my God, and the name of the city of my God, which is New Jerusalem, which cometh down out of heaven from my God, and I will write upon him my new name. So men that overcome are going to be a pillar in the temple of the Most High. You see that? So the Most High and his Son are the temple, and you're going to be a pillar in the temple, not a shapeshifter. Not that you're going to literally transform into a temple, but it means you are going to be strength. You're going to be the strength of the temple, right? You're going to be a man that's going to teach the other nations. A man is going to rule over 10 cities. A man is going to rule over 5 cities. A man is going to set up the nations in order. A man is going to be after the Most High's own heart, man. Just like Peter, John, and James were pillars in the temple that you read about in the book of Galatians, the first chapter. All right. Let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 7. Revelation chapter 7 and verse 15. I'll start at 14. And I said unto them, Sir, thou knowest. And he said to me, These are they which came out of great tribulation, and have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. That's the elect. Therefore are they before the throne of the Most High, and serve him day and night in his temple. He that sitteth on the throne shall dwell among them. Now, is that talking about we're going to be in the third heaven? Literally inside of the temple of the Most High? All right, the angel, okay, angel, get out the way. I'm going to do the altar of incense. All right, angel, don't worry about that. I'll take your job. No, man. We're serving the Most High day and night in his temple. The Lord is the temple. Yahawashi is the temple. We're in his body. He's in us. And we're in him. And we are one. Yahawashi prayed that we may be one in John the 17th chapter. You know? John said in it's like Yahawashi said in John 10 and 30, I and my Father are one. Verse 16, they shall hunger no more, neither thirst anymore, neither shall the sun light upon him, nor any heat, right? Meaning no judgment, right? No affliction, no more punishments, right? That's the sunlight. The sunlight and the heat is the noonday and the affliction. Verse 17, for the Lamb which is in the midst of the throne shall feed them and shall lead them unto living fountains of waters. And the Most High shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. So this is where you want to be. You want to serve the Most High day and night in his temple. That is our overall goal and end game, to serve the Most High in this temple, right? And they are the temple. Inside of this temple, you have 7 golden candlesticks, right? Revelation chapter 1 and verse 20. Just like Solomon's temple had 10, all right? Yahawashi had, it's like in the third heaven, Yahawashi, it's like in the Most High saw, John saw by the vision of the Most High, 7 burning lamps. So in the temple, which is the Most High and his Son, you have 7 menorahs. Revelation 1 and 20. The mystery of the 7 stars, which thou sawest in my right hand, and the 7 golden candlesticks. The 7 stars are the angels of the 7 churches, and the 7 candlesticks which thou sawest are the 7 churches. Now, the 7 churches represent the elect of the Most High, and they are inside of the temple. So there's even a menorah inside of Yahawah. There's a light, and that's the elect of Israel. So these temples are deep. That's where there's 7, or I call this breakdown of 7 temples of Yahawah. All right, let's get another precept. Let's go to John chapter 14. John chapter 14 and verse, let's see what I want. Right? Salaki. I want John, had a precept written down. Let's see. Bear with me. I believe it's John 14 and here it is, 23. Right? John 14 and 23. Yahawashi answered and said unto them, if a man love me, he will keep my words, and my Father will love him, and we will come unto him and make our abode with him. Right? So you're going to dwell in the Lord, and the Lord and his Son are going to dwell in you. That's why Revelation chapter 21, it says, and I saw no temple therein. Doesn't mean that there's not going to be an actual temple in the kingdom, which there will be. There's going to be an earthly temple in the kingdom, and that's the seventh temple. But this is not what this is talking about. This is saying that we, as on a deeper level, we as a city, we're likened unto the holiest of holies inside of Yahawah. That's why the city is shaped like the oracle, where the length, the height, and the breadth are equal. And we've covered that. When you read 1 Kings, the 6th chapter, you read about the oracle. 20 cubits by 20 cubits by 20 cubits. That's a cube. And that is the holiest of holies inside of Solomon's temple. We're the new holiest of holies inside of Yahawah. So that's why we're likened to a city and a temple, but we are inside Yahawah. That's why John didn't see a temple. It's completely parabolic. Now, does that mean it's not going to be an earthly temple? No. You're going to have an earthly temple. You're going to have the sons of Zadok. You're going to have a priesthood, and they're going to do the sacrifices. And that is the seventh temple. Okay? Now, you can read about that in the book of Ezekiel, the book of Isaiah, and many other chapters. But let's get one real quick. Let's go to Ezekiel 44. Now, this is the last temple. It's the temple on the earth. Why do you need an earthly temple in the kingdom of heaven on the earth? Because you're going to have sacrifices done for the other nations. When you read particular chapters like Numbers 28 or Numbers 29, these are sacrifices for the Sabbath day, for the new moons, and the high holy days. So if all of the other nations are going to keep the Feast of Tabernacles, pursuant to Zechariah 14, they're going to keep the Sabbath day and the new moon, pursuant to Isaiah chapter 66 and 23 on down. There's going to be sacrifices to be done for that. Not just going to live amongst the Israelites. The sons of Zadok and the Levites are going to do those offerings. And that's another priesthood, the priesthood of Zadok, that's going to be on the earthly kingdom. All right, let's see if I can get what I want. Okay, Ezekiel 44 and 15. But the priests, the Levites, the sons of Zadok, that kept the charge of my sanctuary when the children of Israel went astray from me, they shall come near to me to minister unto me, and they shall stand before me to offer unto me the fat and the blood, said the Lord. It's like it said the Lord God. They shall enter into my sanctuary, and they shall come near to my table to minister unto me, and they shall keep my charge. Now in the kingdom, you're going to have a temple, and that temple is going to be the holiest of holies place when you look at the layout of how it's designed. And that temple is going to be orchestrated by the sons of Zadok, which was the high priest and the house of David in the ancient world. And his sons are going to do the offerings for the other nations in the kingdom. Now, we're not going to have offerings, chiefly a sin offering, because we're not going to sin. But the Most High can have us do other offerings, peace offerings or other offerings, according to his will. But nevertheless, primarily you're going to have offerings done for the other nations. All right, so let's pull up a diagram. Maybe one of the last things we go into, Ezekiel's temple. Ezekiel's temple has a very high level of spiritual qualities as well, but there's a lot of aspects that are prophetic. All right. And you have to pretty much have that discernment to know, okay, when is this literal? Okay, is it not? And you can see the different visions of Ezekiel's temple, what scholars call Ezekiel's temple. All right, what scholars call Ezekiel's temple. See that? That's what scholars call Ezekiel's temple, because it's mentioned in the book of Ezekiel. All right. So you have Solomon's temple, Zerubbabel's temple. I added Herod in there, right? Herod's temple. You have us being the temple. You have the Most High's temple in the third heaven. You have the temple, which is Yahawah Bashmi Yahawashi. They are a temple. And then you have the earthly temple that's going to be in the kingdom of heaven. These are the 7 temples of Yahawah Bashmi Yahawashi. And with that, we're going to close up, giving, of course, all honor, all glory to Yahawah Bashmi Yahawashi. Most High willing you are edified. Keep the feast of dedication in righteousness and dedicate your temple. Kwam Yashalom. Shalom.